For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. I love the summer and I love the flowers and everything that comes with it, but when winter comes, it just seems like a sigh of relief, and we are able to rest and just spend time as a family. And sometimes the weather forces us into that situation. So we started having some winter warnings for our area, and we prepared the weekend before by putting some hay and straw into our coops and stuff. We put an area in the barn ready for our animals, for our cows, our chickens, our ducks. We just want to make sure they have some dry bedding. They really don't need super warm areas. They just need protection from the weather and the wind, and then they need dry bedding. So that's basically what we did. We had it prepared for the weekend before, but I don't think that we were prepared for the super cold temperatures that were about to come. But what I have been doing in the mornings when I go feed the animals when it's freezing is I will bring out a bucket of warm water. Now this time it hadn't frozen yet, so it started off at 40 degrees this morning, and then as the day went on and the night went through, it got colder and colder. So I wanted to make sure that I had all of the animals' water filled up, had them fed and things like that. I am still working with Daisy and trying to get her to be a little bit more docile, gentle, let me touch her, pet her, things like that. She still makes me a little nervous with the horns, so I am trying to continue to get her used to us, and eventually we are going to get her a halter so that we can lead her around and train her to a lead and all that stuff. We are still having plans to build a stanchion and all that stuff. So at this point, the animals' water again wasn't completely frozen, just maybe a thin layer of ice. So I'm just breaking that up so they have access to it. And whenever it gets super cold, you kind of have to go and check on it a couple times a day. Now, back inside in my warm, cozy house, I am getting things ready for my newborn to take a nap. So he typically co-sleeps with us. We have a co-sleeping bassinet right next to us. He starts out there, then ends up in bed with us. And then while he is awake in the morning, and usually my husband is still there, I will go out and do the morning chores. We're working on getting the kids involved in that a little bit more. But once I get back in, it's usually his nap time, so I will rock him to sleep and lay him down. And then the kids and I will work on their schoolwork or something of that nature. It just depends on what needs to be done for the day. Now, I'm not an expert at sleep training or anything like that, but if you are a new mom watching this and you're wondering how I get my babies to sleep, I started out doing Baby Wise with my first two, and they slept amazing. And then I kind of went a little bit differently with it. With my third one, we only have one bedroom. It's kind of hard to let them kind of figure it out or cry it out, as they suggest a little bit in Baby Wise, when you have other kids in the room. So I have basically just started with a rhythm. So they wake up, they nurse, they play or lay around, and then when they start having sleepy cues, rubbing their eyes, kind of getting fussy, then I will rock them to sleep. So doing this allows me to kind of figure out what's wrong with them and have them a little bit on a rhythm. Have them on a rhythm so that they can eventually sleep through the night. And then at night, I will nurse them to sleep, and they start out in their bassinet, when they wake up, I nurse them in bed and they stay in bed with me. So we both get a lot of sleep this way. Now, I have come up with this super easy stain removal. I have this really pretty linen dress, and I noticed at church the other day it had like an oil stain on it. And so this stain remover removes oil stains, which I love. It's just baking soda and dish liquid, and you rub it equal parts together, and I apply it with a toothbrush and then throw it in the washer. Super easy. I have a link in my bio or description for you guys to check that out, and it's in a blog post. So I try to keep the fire going when it's cold. We are basically on wood heat if it's cold, and then if it's 50 degrees or above outside, then our little heaters will keep up with the house. But when it's cold and below 40, then I definitely have to keep the wood stove going. And we were very thankful for this a few weeks ago when our power went out, because we were still able to cook dinner, heat water, wash dishes. So I would definitely recommend that you get one in 2024 if you do not have one, or if you're watching this later years, to get one, because it helps so much and helps you to be less reliable on the system. Now, I am not a sourdough expert. I love making sourdough. My family loves sourdough bread. It gets gobbled up super quickly, but I am still learning. And I just apply new things all the time. But my tip for anybody that is new to sourdough is, like, you want to start, go ahead and get a starter from a friend or buy one. They're super easy. Just follow directions to rehydrate it, and then you can use it from that. So this is my second time rising this dough. So I knead it together and let it rest, and knead it and let it rest, and knead it and let it rest, and then I let it alone, leave it alone for like overnight, and I will let that rise. Usually it's doubled in size, and then I will take it out of the bowl and kind of like make sure it's in a tightly pressed ball later, and I put it into a bowl with a towel. I sprinkle flour on the towel, then I put the dough in the towel, the bowl, sprinkle a little bit more flour on top, and then put the towel on top of that, and that keeps the dough from sticking to the towel. And it's going to rise for, I don't know, it depends on like how warm the house is, how much humidity is in the house. So just keep an eye on it, let it rise again, usually 2-3 hours, and then I can score it and bake it. So sourdough is pretty simple. It's not that hard, but there's always more to learn. There's more experts out there. I just know that my dough works and it tastes good, and my family loves it, and that it's healthy for us because it's fermented and it's a lot easier to digest than just regular gluten. Okay, so now I am getting started on supper. It's still morning time, but I'm getting started on supper because I wanted to make some pork shoulder roasts. And these pork shoulders are from our local farm here. We try to buy our meat from a local farm, and we know how the animals have been raised, because we don't want a lot of stuff that they put into it in the stores. And also we can buy it in bulk and save money. So that's what we typically do. So these are from a local farm, and I'm going to put them in the oven. So I take some avocado oil and I pour it into my pan, heat that up, and I cook my diced onions. Once those are nice and cooked, I season my pork shoulders, and I will sear them on both sides before covering them and putting them in the oven at like 225 for the rest of the day. We like to flavor ours with cumin, chili powder, some salt, some garlic powder, and then sear them. So the searing helps to keep the juices in there while it bakes in the oven, like roasts in the oven. It's so good. And sorry if you're hearing baby noises. I have a little baby on me. So while we're watching this, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I've been learning. So I have been reading about the Sabbath, and it's one of the 10 commandments that I really don't think that a lot of us still observe. And, you know, even though the New Testament is written and it talks about, you know, you're only saved through grace, not by works, or saved by grace through faith, not by works. The 10 Commandments are still there, and it's something that we should still apply to our lives. So I have been really intentional about learning about the Sabbath and how to implement that into our lives and not be so like technical about it with like the Pharisees did, like adding things to it to make sure that I don't, you know, ruin the Sabbath or anything like that. But what does a Sabbath actually look like for me and my family? And this book called The Sabbath has been so helpful in realizing things that we can do to make sure that we are observing the Sabbath and getting the benefits from it. It's the only commandment that says remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. It is not one of the commandments that just says thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. It is remember the Sabbath. So it's like God was telling us, I know you're going to forget to rest, so I'm going to put this in my commandment to make sure that you are intentional about it and make sure that you get the rest that you need. So I am still like trying to figure out what we want to do to apply it to our lives, but this book has been so eye-opening for me. So I'm going to put a link to it in the description box below if I can find one. I found this book at a thrift store, and yeah, it was just, I guess, a divine buy, if you want to call it that, because it was super cheap. But it's been so helpful and life-giving to learn how to rest. Now, I have also been trying to teach my kids life skills, and one of the things that I wanted to teach them was how to make sourdough. So it was really funny putting the kids over there and to see whose loaves rose and did well and tasted well, because they, you know, were given the exact same instructions. My daughter, the oldest one, hers was nice and fluffy and tasted good. And then my son, he added way too much salt, even though I told him a pinch. He like dumped it in there, and his came out hard as a rock. So it was pretty funny, but we are just learning different things, and I have learned that they just need to know how to run a house. So that is something that we have implemented. Implemented. We're also doing at-home violin lessons. I think it's Voetberg Music Academy is what it's called. We are subscribed to the violin lessons. We were doing private online violin lessons, and it just got like hectic and like expensive. So we're trying the subscription based one now. So I don't know a whole lot about the violin. I know music by ear. I don't know music by reading music. So I'm just trying to help the kids and watch the video with them and try to take it from there. These snowy days, I am just so excited to learn more and more about flowers. I got another book from the thrift store called Bulbs, and I actually sent that out in my email newsletter last week. So that's just in what I'm reading, and it's been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm going back to college to learn about flowers, and it's so fun. So this year I am planning on starting my own flower business, and so I'm trying to do it right. And so instead of doing in like seed starting sales, I wanted to do soil blocking this year because the seed starting sales don't usually last, and you have to buy them every year, and they're hard to get out, and I don't know. So I want to try soil blocking this year. I will let you guys know how that ends up turning out, but I just got this one off Amazon, and then I got plastic lunch trays off of Amazon to put the soil blocks on because they're sturdy, and apparently, I don't know, I've been watching regenerative gardening on YouTube, trying to learn more about how to do soil blocking and how to grow flowers and things like that. So I bought these so that my soil blocks can be on them. I have also been on a new workout routine. My husband is a gym owner. He also has a bachelor's in kinesiology, and so he has put together this program for me to help lose the baby weight postpartum. So since we were snowed in, we could not get out of our house, I was working out at home. I don't really have a whole lot of equipment right now, but once we get our addition built on, I plan on making my own home gym in our garage that we're going to have. You guys, I'm so excited about the garage, like not walking out in the rain with babies, and the pathway from our house to where we park our cars is through the woods, and at night it can be scary. During the day, if it's raining, it's not very fun. It attracts a lot of mud into the house. So anyways, super excited about this garage. Moving on. So that pork, you remember I told you we bought from our local farmers. They smoked it and cured it for us, and it is the most delicious bacon ever. So I learned that since I don't have a meat slicer, it's really hard to cut it up with a knife. I don't have a really special knife that's super sharp or anything, so I decided to try out my electric knife, and it works so well. So they leave the skin on theirs when they cure it. I don't know if they do this at other places, but this is a Mennonite farm, and they tend to do things like more old school. But so I just take off the skin, and then I just use my electric knife to slice the bacon up. It's not super thin slices, so that doesn't really bother me any, but I will just slice a whole block up and then put it in a glass bowl and put it in the fridge for whenever we are ready. And for lunch today, I had eggs and bacon and some Ezekiel toast, which was delicious. And my husband has been working on getting more wood stacked for our fireplace, our wood stove. and then he was working on some kindling this day. So he was able to stack quite a bit of wood right outside our door while he was here. And I was going stir crazy because I love to get out of our house. Like, you know, I don't like to be so busy where we're out of the house all day long, but I like the trips to the gym, like to work out and just socialize with people. And yeah, but I haven't been able to do that. So I decided to go out and scoop some poop. It was frozen. Daisy has been eating in this area quite constant because it was frozen like all the way up the hill, and she just really didn't want to go anywhere. So we had put her hay right there in that area, and so there's a lot of poop there. And normally I would just leave it out there because it's in the field, but because it was so close to the barn and all in one area, I wanted to scoop that out, and we'll just make us a little compost pile with it. So that's what I was doing. I was piling it up next to our wood chips. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you are doing well in winter on your homestead right now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.